A walkthrough of my Rails final project. This is a Rails library. It is a application that is designed to be essentially what you might use in an actual library. It allows users to check out and return books, and librarians can manage user accounts, add and remove books, and so forth. So I'll show you a couple quick things here. When you start out, this is the home index page. This is what when you first come to this application. This is what you're going to get. You can do a few things when you're not signed in. So here we've got, you can browse books, browse authors, view our most borrowed books. That is a list that comes in under books most borrowed. These are the books with the five top books with the most checkouts by users. You can look at individual books. We have a books show page. You can look at individual authors. Um, you can browse books by an author. That is nested here as author number 9, Albert Camus books. You can look at all authors. These are all of our authors. We can look at all of our books. They are broken down between fiction and nonfiction, as are categories. Within categories, you can look at books. These are the books that exist underneath this category, right? Now, there's some things you can't do as someone who's not signed in. You can't go to some user's account. You can't do that if it's not your account either, as a person signed in. But as someone who's not signed in, they try to go to their account. They get please log in to view your account. So when you want to log in, there's a couple of ways you can do it. I've got a Facebook login, which will log me in. Let's see. Yeah, Kevin Adkins, that's me. I've just logged in through Facebook. I can also do a login through the apps. The app has its own user create and user authenticate logic. So let's go into that same account, but using the app's authentication. Let's make sure I type in my stuff correctly here. Okay, so now I'm logged in as me. So when you log in, it takes you to your account. That's what this is here, this link. So this is users 1, that's me. This shows the books I currently have on loan. I just have one. I can take a look at that book. Maybe I want to check out something else in the similar genre. So let's look at this book. And so here now that I'm a user, in addition to showing me the book, it also shows me how many are available to borrow. If I click on borrow, checkout successful, surface detail is now one of the books that I've borrowed. Now you see here when you go into, so let's go back to that. We had 2 copies of that book available just a moment ago, and now that I've borrowed one, we now have 1 available. I can also, as a user, I can return my book. Book returned. It's out of my current loans, and if I go back again to look at surface detail, now there are once again 2 available. Yeah, so that's the basic navigation here. Now that's pretty much what you can do as a user. Now as a librarian, you can add books, you can edit books, you can do a lot of other stuff, and so I will show you that right now, and I'll also show you our sign up functionality. Let's start with an incomplete sign up. So we'll do John Smith, and it'll be J Smith 1, J Smith 1. We'll try to create without an email. We get an error. One error prevented this user from being saved. Email can't be blank. And there's similar things if you do it. Again, here, password can't be blank, email can't be blank. Okay, so let's give Mr. John Smith, jsmith@gmail.com, and his password will be the very secure jsmith1, so I don't forget what his password is. Okay, so now that account's been created, and we will log in Mr. jsmith@gmail.com. jsmith1. And here we are. So because John Smith is a librarian, we're now at the librarian dashboard. This is a namespaced resource librarians dashboard up here. This just gives us an overview of what we've got here. We've got the total books on loan, the total overdue books, and then as a librarian, you can manage loans, users, or collections. If you go to manage loans, this will show you all the loans that are current within the system. These are the overdue loans up here. So these books were due a couple of days ago and they have not been returned yet. And then these are all current loans, and they are organized by descending by due date, both in the overdue and in the current now, because it's just me putting in this data. They're almost all the same date, but you get the idea. So I can go to a user account here. So here's Martin Winslow's books. As a librarian, I can also extend the loan. Let's see, so when was that due? That was due on May 26th. So let's say it's now due on May 29th, 2017. Extend that loan. The loan is now extended. It's now due on May 29th. When I go into books, authors, and so forth, there's a lot of stuff I can do. I can add a book as a librarian. So you get it. So I mean, it's got its own requirements, validations. Author must exist. So books have to be associated with authors. This is a sort of unusual domain in that the relationship between books and authors is that, books belong to an author and authors have many books. However, because it's a library and what you would be adding are books, almost always what you're going to be doing, I don't even have a thing for adding an author without a book because it wouldn't make any sense in a library. You're only adding an author if you are adding a book, because that's what the primary thing is in the collection, is books. So anyway, let's create a book with a new author. So this will be 9 Princes in Amber. We're not going to select an author. You can select one of our existing authors, but we're not going to do that this time. Okay, so publication date. Publication date is not actually required for validation, but I like to put it in anyway. One thing that is required is the number of copies, so the library knows how many copies of the book are available. We'll just add one copy. We're going to add a new author. This is Roger Zeleny, and he was born. When was Roger Zeleny born? Well, I don't know, so I'm going to just, I think, make something up. That's a required field. The born on date is required. Obviously, sometimes these authors are still living, so they do not have a died on date all the time. So he was probably born in the, let's say 41, whatever. You have the option to categorize this as an existing category or create a new category. So these are actually 3 different classes that you're dealing with here. You're dealing with the book itself, you're dealing with the author, which is the belongs to relationship. The book belongs to an author. Categories, that's a has many to has many relationship. Categories have many books, books have many categories. So again, you can do either or both. You can take existing we'll call this speculative fiction, even though it's really not. We'll also call it fantasy. Okay, so we're creating a new book with a new author, 1 copy under the categories speculative fiction and the new category fantasy. We will create the book. Okay, so here we have, this is our title, this is our author, this is our publication year. We've created this new category called fantasy. We have, as a librarian, it says that we have 1 in the collection and none are checked out. There's of course not a checkout button because I'm a librarian right now. Yeah, and so all these links will take you, to these new things we've just created. So now we're looking at Roger Zeleny, and I can edit information about him. Roger is an author of Roger Zeleny is an author of fantasy books. Is an author of fantasy, geez, I can't spell, books. Update the author. And now we get a little bio there. We can add a book by Roger Zeleny. Let's add. And again, if you don't give it all the information it needs. It's not going to let you do it. Copies can't be blank copies is not numbered, title can't be blank, so on and so forth. And so it's already set the author here as Roger Zeleny. I could change it. I wouldn't if I'm going to add a book by him. But let's go ahead and do that. Avalon. And let's see, 1972. 1972. One copy. And this is again fantasy. Okay, create book. There we are. We've created a new book. And so that's the basic operations of this system. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff you can do here. You can create a new category. So now we're looking at books. You can edit the book, you can edit the author, you can create a new category. As a library, it says, okay, one copy of this book is currently checked out to this user, Katie Foster. We can go look at her account, extend the loan, and so forth. So I don't want to go into every tiny little feature in detail. I think that's covering the major bases of what was wanted for this project. And we'll show you a logout. There's a logout. And yeah, I'm going to say that's it. All right, thanks for watching.